This morning we will work on a koan from the collection of koans called Mumonkan. The book in front of me is Comments on the Mumonkan by Zenke Shibayama, but the translation of the koan, commentary and poem is a conglomerate of different translations according to what is most workable to see what the koan is actually referring to. Remember, in listening to a koan and the comment on it, it's not something out there concerning others or ancients or holy ones or those who want to be holy ones or enlightened ones. It concerns oneself. The koan is number 27 and it's called Neither Mind nor Buddha nor Things. Neither mind nor Buddha nor things. And the case reads, a monk once asked Master Nansen, is there any dharma or truth, is there any truth that has not yet been taught to the people? Is there any truth that hasn't yet been taught to the people? Nansen said, yes, there is. Monk asked, what is this truth that has not been taught to the people? And Nansen said, it is not mind, it is not Buddha, it is not things. Here it says not beings, so we can add that too. It is neither mind, nor Buddha, nor beings, nor things. Mumon's commentary is, Nansen, being asked the question, had to use up all his resources at once. How feeble and awkward. And his poem reads, talking too much spoils your virtue. Silence is truly unequaled. Let it be so. Even if the blue ocean should change, it, in quotation marks, will never be communicated to you. Talking too much spoils your virtue. Silence is truly unequaled. Let it be so. Even if the blue ocean should change, it will never be communicated to you. Nansen, I believe, was a disciple of Baso, and Baso was asked once, what is Buddha? And Baso's reply was, this very mind is Buddha. And when at another time he was asked, what is Buddha? What is Buddha means, what is truth? What is reality? What is enlightenment, awakening? And he had said, this very mind is Buddha. And at another time he said, no mind, no Buddha. And here Nansen is asked by someone, listen to the question as though you were asking it yourself. Is there a teaching or a truth that has never yet been taught? Why would this question be asked? Is there a truth that has never been taught yet? It could be asked by someone who has steeped himself or herself in all the possibly available teachings there are. Although usually when one belongs to one particular religion, one exhausts the scriptures. Oh, how can one? There are so many. In Buddhism there are supposed to be 20,000 scriptures. So one has delved into the scriptures. These are the scriptures of the Buddha, and then there are all the sayings and talks of the past teachers. One has read it all, one has tried to figure it all out, and somehow or other there's no contentment. There cannot be contentment if one tries to intellectually grasp these teachings, these words. One can grasp them intellectually, meaning one can remember them, quote them at appropriate or inappropriate times, engage in argument, dialectics. See who comes out the winner. But the satisfaction of that always fades away, unless this is sort of one sees that as one's vocation, and there is no deeper yearning to understand what all this really means, what all of these enormous amounts of words point to. In all simplicity, if there is any. One may doubt it if one reads scriptures and sermons and talks. So there's already an assumption in this question that everything that has been taught is a truth, but is there one that hasn't been taught yet? And the assumption that truth can be taught, that truth is something teachable and learnable from a teaching. Which is, what is it that we consider learnable from a teaching? Isn't that which is learnable from teaching always depositing it into memory, so that one knows it, that it comes up at the right time, can be referred to, can be thought about, which is the operation of thinking and memory, projecting, combining and recombining the words, maybe into some new sentences. This is what is learnable. But all of this is manipulation of words, sentences, and memory, and thoughts. And maybe one comes to a point where one is fed up with this. One is filled with it to the point of even nausea. Can be a real physical thing. And one may wonder, does this mean anything profound? Is there something that this all refers to that I can see for myself rather than having to regurgitate from memory? To even discern the operation of memory is a very important step to take. To discern for oneself that thinking comes out of memory. And then this question, is there a truth that hasn't been taught? Because he says yet, hasn't yet been taught, up till now. And the immediate answer is yes, there is. Yes, there is truth which has never been taught. And you may add, which never will be taught, which cannot be taught. That's the answer. What do you do with an answer like this? Or do you do anything with it? Or do you just listen? Where does this answer come from? Is that a thought? Out of nonsense memory? Yes, there is. And what happens to the monk, to the questioner? The man says, yes, there is, so, hey, what is it? The same thing in operation, wanting to grasp it. Obviously it hasn't been grasped, or else this question would not have been put. Although the word grasped is a poor word for understanding. I don't know what is a good word. Understanding, seeing, beyond words. It's actually what Zen work or teaching or practice, whatever word you want to use, has been called a teaching outside of words, outside of scriptures. What does he expect when he says, what is it? More words? Maybe. Still this deep-seated conviction in us that somehow or other, if we only find the right teacher with the right words, we will understand something from the words. Because it's a strange thing, understanding may happen because there's a seeing of what words point to or stand for. But it's not the words, it's the seeing that is of importance and meaning. Does one realize that? Or is one after words which are uplifting, encouraging, positive? One feels so negative, one wants to hear some positive thoughts. Inspiring. Inspiring one with a goal. So hear this question with expectation of result. What is it? What is this truth you just said that there is? Can you tell me? Give it to me? Can I have it? I've looked through everything that's existing, has left me dissatisfied, empty, that gnawing feeling of discontent is all over me. At times I may suppress it or distract myself from it, but then there it is again. Discontent with my life, my past, my present, and my future. So, I'm ready to hear what you have to say. Maybe that will help. Do away with all this inner uncertainty and misery and confusion. And this is the answer. It isn't mind. It isn't Buddha. It isn't beings. It isn't things. The very first item on the list, it isn't mind. Does one just hear that? One has heard it so often. It is mind or it isn't mind. And it sort of falls into a mechanical slot when it's immediately absorbed into the already pre-existing memory traces, and therefore it can't trigger something new. Or can it? Does it? When you hear it isn't mine. Maybe if you've banked on the famous elder teacher Basso saying it is mind, then that knocks something over. Particularly if you haven't read this already for years, which wasn't the case at the time. These things were novel. But what is mind? What does nonsense say when he says it is not mind? What is mind? It's spelled here with a small m. Mind is the totality of all of human memory, everything that's ever been deposited, laid down, codified in human memory, which is part of this brain, which we've inherited, which has developed through centuries, and contains all of one's own personal memories, conscious and unconscious, contains psychologists call the collective unconscious or the racial unconscious. A lot of the animal pattern of behavior all our habitual behavior patterns. Which exist as certain codes in the brain to be triggered and then to result in action. All our words, our symbols, our images of ourselves, this whole cluster of images which is the me, my looks, my aptitudes, my capacity or my incapacity, my aspirations, my fears, what people think of me, how they see me, how I want them to see me, and how I'm afraid they would see me. All my ideas about people, about others, my prejudices, which are part of my personal past history and the history of my family, their religion, their affiliations, associations, and that of the locality, the country, the race, the civilization. The whole thing. That's mind. My beliefs, political, religious beliefs, which I think are mine, but I have taken them over from someone else. They have been imprinted upon me. I may have strongly reacted to them. The reaction is a result of the imprinting, and then taking over new beliefs, one after another, or coexisting. All of this is mind. The image of what I want to become in the future, socially, economically, politically, or religiously. And as long as there is this image of what I want to become, the whole mechanism of wanting that, striving for it, using means to an end, all of this is mind. Fears of what may happen to me or my family, my country, or the human race. And the emotions and physical responses this triggers throughout the body is also mind. Body responses are included in mind because they are not separable. The nervous network does make no differentiation between thought and emotion. It's one network, interconnected. Thoughts triggering an emotion, and an emotion triggering thoughts, more thoughts. Feelings, tensions. Ideas of peace, harmony, enlightenment, paradise, liberation, part of mind. And all the activities to attain that, to bring it about, the activity of mind, the strong involvement of thought, ideas, persuasion, being persuaded. Please don't take this over. It's there for the looking and examining by each one, if there is this inclination or urgency to do so. If it is not, then it is not. There's nothing being sold here, nothing to be bought. It is not mine. Is it possible to wipe this away as easily as it is said? All of that? One fell swoop, the whole thing? No. This is not suppression. You can't suppress it. How could you? Because the suppressor is one of the central agents of mind. Seeing is not an agent of mind. It is a quiet mind. A quiet brain with not just one overworked center in there. Cortex, in which all the interpretation and memory and the switchboard to muscles and organs takes place. I may be on a limb here with physiology, but it's not trying to be that. It's what is being observed by oneself. Nansen doesn't just say it's not mind, and he says it's not Buddha, because this utterance comes in the framework of a Buddhist tradition. So he would say Buddha, he doesn't say it's not Allah or God, Jesus, Jehovah. He says Buddha. But what this refers to is very universal. On one level, a religious leader of the past or present who is beyond his or her being a human being, made into an object of worship, of hope, of faith, of prayer, of art. Of a free roaming imagination. What this Buddha, God, Jesus, Allah, coyote for the Indians, for one Indian tribe. I used to know all this memory has failed me, all these different deities. Somebody recently said in Hindu India there are 350,000 deities. Maybe more. When it comes to that kind of a number, it's probably infinite. Because a new one can be created every moment. A deity who has something I don't have and I pray to it or want something of it or have to be fearful of it and therefore toe the line. And what the mind has made of it, the sacrosanct. And here Nansen says it's not that either. Wiping this whole thing away, or speaking out of a state of being where this does not have any hold, does not occupy any space or limit space. This object of worship, or Buddha also including past teachers, past saints, patriarchs. My relationship to them. Relationship of obedience, of conforming, following, One person once told me, she was in a very glowing state, she had just become the disciple of a teacher. It was a very inspirational event in her life. She told me about it, and asking, what does this mean, this relationship that gives you such joy and ecstasy here? And she said, it means giving myself totally over to the teacher, trusting that he will be reasonable. Trusting. But he or she may not be reasonable. And then what? Is one caught up in it? One has invested in it, psychologically invested, or maybe financially invested. But the psychological investment is the much, much stickier one. Because this is now you. The teacher is also you. It's your identity. You have already told lots of people about this and trying to convince them. They may not be into that, but you have tried to convince, and as you convince your parents and your friends and relatives, you're convincing yourself. That this relationship of conformity, obedience, following, trusting will lead someplace to something I want. We talked about this under mind. Nansen says it's not mind, it's not Buddha. It's not the teacher. Obviously, it's not the teacher, because the teacher's understanding is not one's own. Or is it? Then it's not the teacher's understanding anymore, then it's understanding. Not mine or yours, but clarity, seeing, whatever one to call it, enlightenment. The word is not the thing. Word is not reality. Truth. Not mine, it's not Buddha, not teacher. And he adds, it's not things, or not beings. Something is still left someplace. One finds something to hang on to. Something to which one is attached. Because this mind with this cluster of me is the epitome of clinging, of attaching. It's raison d'être. It's reason for being. I'm not talking right now about science, industry, technology, where we think to make things, although self and ego are intertwined in there too, but need not be. But the whole functioning of mind, of the brain, is to attach to something that is secure, that gives a semblance of safety. I say a semblance because whatever is clung to, already the process of clinging is an unsafe process. Because what one clings to may wilt, die, disappear, or turn away, be shattered, bombed out. And then, where is the mind? It is in a state of confusion, panic, just sending out its feelers for something else to grab. Not questioning this whole problem of search for security in mind, Buddha, and things, and teachers, and teachings, and exposed to the discomfort of insecurity, uncertainty, and completely exposed to it without looking for something to plaster it over. It won't remain plastered long, like plaster cracks, and there it is. And it's very easy to say, I'm not attached. People have spoken to me about this, saying, it's a religion is no problem, Buddha is no problem. Nothing is a problem. Nationality isn't a problem. The problem is attachment. If you're not attached, there's no problem. Implying then there can be nationality, there can be religious division and so forth, or belonging to a religion. But how are you going to? Are you trying to find out if you're attached or not, or do you just say that? It's easily said, and as long as things go well, there can be this belief that I'm not attached. It's only when things crack and break, are taken away or crumble away, that one may notice for the first time one's attachment to religion, Buddha, mind, things, whatever has given one this pseudo feeling of security. Does one have to wait till something crumbles or is taken away, or can this be examined right now? Whether there is attachment. And I'm not saying attachment is right or wrong, you shouldn't be attached, because this is often already in the background. When one hears a talk like this and then looks, then there is this thought, I shouldn't really be attached. One looks with the aim of maybe getting rid of attachment, and then one can't see, because evaluation shrivels the seeing process. It affects it, distorts it. This work is not to condemn or to set up any kind of standards of right and wrong, but to look, to investigate, to listen with an openness that is free of prejudice. And if there's prejudice, can it come into awareness? Of course it can. There's nothing magical needed to listen to a prejudicial remark that comes out of this mouth. And take any magical, supernatural faculties to hear that, to observe it. Meets a person of a different color, skin, or looks, what comes up? It's conditioned, it's human, it's universal, it can be seen. And in the seeing, can it lose its grip on the mind? If it's not seen, it grips the mind and associates all kinds of things with it, which are deposited in this mind. The seeing is the short-circuiting of the deposits. So one can see without all this backlog distorting the vision. So, if there is this state of inquiring, of questioning, what is truth? Not the truth that has been taught, that I've read about, heard sermons and preachers talk about or read. What is truth? Is there such a thing that is beyond all the limitations of words, of memory, of hope and fear, and belief and faith and trust? Is there? I want to find out. I have to find out. Because else I'm caught in all of this other stuff. Imprisoned by it, exploited by it, and also putting it over on others. Goes hand in hand. And how does one listen to this? It's not this, it's not this, it's not that, and it's not that either. Can one do it? Can one work this way? This is part of the content of the Prajna Paramita we used to chant. It's not this, not that. Nothing that the mind takes hold of. And the taking hold of the mind, can that also be put aside? In this questioning, who or mu, what is it? Or observing the breathing, not clinging to anything, including the breathing. Just this plunging questioning, not knowing. Not this, not this, not that. What is it? Says here, Nansen, being asked the question, used up all his resources at once. What resources is he talking about? Because there's this thing, this habitual thing with Mumon of always praising by seemingly disparaging. That is a sort of a Zen habit of admiring the teachers by disparaging them. It's also a form of conditioning. Well, maybe I'm out on a limb here. After you've read through 48 of these, it becomes a little bit redundant. But he used up all of his resources. What did he use up? We use up our resources by mind, Buddha, things. You always have to get new inspiration or new injection of energy from something. Not that it doesn't get tired from work. This work too can be exhausting. And yet, what is being exhausted? Physically, there can be a state of tiredness and one needs rest, one sleeps, and the body springs back. In taking in all of life, perceiving of all of life is Are the resources exhausted? It seems this way if we focus on parts of the earth. Reserves are quickly exhausted in mining areas, farming areas, industrial areas, fishing areas, hunting areas. But when one looks at the stars at night, this infinite space, the sun rising, the snow falling, the leaves dropping, children being born and their freshness of energy. What is exhausted? What resources are exhausted? Is there an energy which is inexhaustible? One can't assume it, but one can ask this question and ask further whether it's possible to be in touch with that. Not personally. Personally, one cannot be in touch with it because the person, my this, my that, my aspirations, my past, that's sort of a shield. Well, it's a limited cell of energy which can be pumped up and can degenerate and degenerates. Is it possible to be in touch with an energy that is not personal, is not based on inspiration, faith, belief, habit, goals? It says here in the poem, talking too much spoils your virtue. We don't know what the Chinese word was for virtue and how it really was felt, the word. Here virtue has become sort of a moralistic word, standard of behavior, which one can train for or be conditioned in. So maybe we can leave the word out altogether and say, talking too much spoils whatever, everything. The superficial implication being that Nansen already said too much. In the Zen tradition, most responses are very brief, very curt, and often physical. Clout on the head, a shove away, a pushing over, smashing of a gate whether a foot is there or not. Not as a device of training, but this! Maybe to smash all these walls of mind, Buddha, and things. And Nansen was one of the fewer teachers who used words very freely, not just according to any idea that one should be brief. Oh, this is really brief if you think of it. But leaving that aside, I think it's worthwhile to dwell on talking too much spoils. I wonder whether, to what an extent our energies in the course of a day, to what proportion or ratio they are taken by what we talk, by talking. Now, a lot of talking is necessary, and a lot of talking is not necessary. Why do we talk? Leaving aside now planning for a future center, or all the talks that have to go on to prepare for this, or decide to buy a new house or to move to another city. One shouldn't take over any standards here, or any, this happens so quickly, guilt and I should and I shouldn't, but let's observe how we talk. Is that possible? Of course it's possible. How we talk, to the extent we talk, and what's mixed in there, what are the ingredients of our talking. Am I trying to assert myself? Be accepted, be recognized. I've said something and that I have to defend because that's already me. If somebody says something contrary to that, I feel personally attacked, hurt, and therefore more words to defend these previous words. If I see that, I may let up on that. I may let these words be bygones and look objectively whether what the other person says may have something. It may. I'm not these past words. What am I? Aside from all the ideas and thoughts about myself and images, which are so operative all the time and need so many words to produce myself, make a production out of myself. We have these expressions, they're so true, so apropos. And if words don't come easy to us, we're shy, not facile, then the internal words of putting oneself down, feeling inferior to all these eloquent others, maybe thinking, and these are words, unspoken words, thinking the others don't like me, don't appreciate me, and depression with its words and feelings. A vast field for observation is our words. Words. Not ours, but words. And the energy that goes with them. And it's not necessarily that talking intensely drains energy. One can talk very studiedly quiet and use a lot of energy in this careful, quiet talk. It's all up for observation. It can be seen what is all in there. If I need to do that, if I need to understand how a human being acts and interacts, to see if harmony and cooperation and lovingness, care and affection is possible on the smallest scale. We always want to produce it on a large scale, but we're oblivious or incapable of bringing it about or examining it on a tiny, insignificantly tiny scale. says here, silence is certainly effective. Which does not mean I'm more effective if I'm quiet at a meeting or if I don't say anything. It's all ideas. Can words come out of silence? The silence of seeing the me, and therefore certain words just don't come out because the me is seen, the me that wants to be the center of attraction or attention. Say a clever thing at the expense of someone else. This often is only seen afterwards. Sometimes it's not seen at all. Often it's seen afterwards, but it can be seen ahead of time. And sort of the words die in the mouth or in the throat, or haven't even been formed yet. The intention is seen and dropped. Not suppressed, but seen as a difference. Suppression comes from ideas. Dropping comes out of seeing, the silence of seeing. Maybe I've talked too much already. Says here, let it be so. Let it be so. Let it be. Whatever comes up, let it be. And not as a principle, but out of awareness. And then there's no manipulation and no reaction for or against. And things happen on their own. It says here, if the whole ocean should change, another translation, if mountains should turn into oceans, it, in quotation marks, will not be communicated to you. It referring to truth is not a topic that can be communicated. What is it? Beyond words. In the midst of communication. It's not this, it's not that, not this, not that. What is it? Listen. We'll stop here for today.